Shiver me timbers. Hang 'em from the yard.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to the one, the only Rumboyz Fantasy Network. Today, I am joined by the owner of not one, not two, but three different locations of a swine fine barbecue. David Stidham, how's it going, sir?
Oh, it's going awesome, man. Thanks so much. Appreciate the nice intro.
Hey, no worries. I appreciate you for taking time out of your very busy schedule to come on the show today and grace us with your presence.
Yeah, whatever.
Some food, some sports. You ready, man?
Let's do this. Let's go.
Awesome. Well, it wouldn't be a show here on the Rumboyz Fantasy Network, of course, without the ceremonious cheers. What are you drinking on first?
Today I got a little Woodford.
Nice. I got a little Puerto Rican rum, some Castillo.
I thought about that. I knew you'd be repping the rum.
Oh yeah. New brand coming out soon. We're gonna get our brand coming out. Y'all get ready for it.
Really?
We're working on it. Y'all ready? Here we go, David. Cheers to me. Cheers to you.
Cheers to you.
All boys and girls, what it do?
What it do?
Oh yeah. That's good.
Oh, this is gonna be a nice segment.
Very, very nice. So the first question that I wanted to dive into here, just give me 1 second. My phone is being a little tricky right now. All righty. So the first question that I wanted to dive into is actually revolving around your business. Business owner to business owner, David, what made you open up A Fine Swine BBQ?
Okay, I'm gonna do this kind of quick, but there's a little bit of background. I hope you don't mind. I've always been an entrepreneur at heart, but I've always worked in the corporate world, and I was actually the vice president of marketing for Culver's Restaurants, based up in just north of Chicago in Madison, Wisconsin. And as a hobby, I competed professionally on the pro competition circuit, KCBS, MBN, Memphis in May, all of these big circuits that do professional barbecue competitions. And I would go all around the world, from Kansas City to Memphis to, wherever. We would go all over the place and compete in these big competitions. And that was my fun stuff. And I became pretty good at it. Well, I decided a few years back that I was going to look into opening up a restaurant and blaze my own trail. I've been working for other people all my life, and I've done fairly well for myself. But I felt like at that point, I really wanted to build something with my name on the door versus somebody else, making money for somebody else. And so I started looking at restaurants up there where I lived in Wisconsin. And I was all obviously doing it on the down low. And then one day I was in Chicago for business, and I got a phone call saying my dad was in the hospital. And so I rushed from Chicago down to St. Louis area, which is Southern Illinois. New Baden, Illinois is where our first restaurant is. So I rushed down there, went to see my dad that night. I got there just in time for visitors hours. And it was a nice visit. Then I went home to where they lived, and I was hanging out with my brother. while mom and dad stayed at the hospital. Me and my brother were just talking for a while, and the next morning I got up to go back to the hospital. I was started heading to the hospital, and I saw this beautiful building right down the street, close to the interstate, and it was a restaurant that was for lease. So I pulled into the parking lot, and just for the hell of it, and I peeked in the window, and I was like, "This is actually pretty cool, and it's nice." And so for fun, I just made a phone call, called the realtor on the sign, and said, "Hey, I'm passing through. I'm on my way to the hospital, but I just wanted to know what you have what the lease price is for this building." And the guy, basically, his name's Jay. He goes, "Well, why don't I show it to you?" And I said, "Well, I don't have time. I got to go." And he goes, "Well, I'm pulling in right now." And he was literally with his dad. It was a father-son team.
Wow.
Pulled into the parking lot. He was on the phone while I was there, and so it was just like, is this meant to be? And so he came in and he goes, "Look, we'll be real brief." And then, and I said, "That's fine, because I'm coming back anyway." So he opened up the door, and it was just like that. You ever have that epiphany moment, and you just walk in and you just know this is it?
Yeah.
I just knew it was it. And I was just losing my mind, because it had everything that I had a whole checklist of boxes I needed to check for it to work. Number one, did multiple walk-in coolers. It had them. It had a full kitchen, a big hood. It had a bar, a custom bar work with brass and wood. It had an upper level, lower level. It had a place out front to where I could build the smokehouse, because when it comes to marketing and branding, you got to be able to impact them before they even walk in the door. So I was I was checking off every single box, and I was taking all these pictures. And so I said, this is really cool. I'm going to go to the hospital, visit with my dad. We'll talk later. And I went to the hospital. I'm chatting with mom and dad. I told them about the place, and they were like, "Oh, that place is great, blah, 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 blah." And I sent all these pictures to my wife, and my wife said, "That's really," because I've been sharing pictures from all the restaurants up there we were looking at.
Yeah.
And so I sent her these pictures, and she looked at me, and she sent me a text. Goes, "Where's this at?" I said, "New Baden." And I didn't get a message for 10 minutes. And she finally sends back, she goes, "I have no desire to move to New Baden, Illinois." And I said, "I don't either, but maybe it's not up to us." And a couple of weeks later, we all came down as a family, my two boys, my wife, and we looked at it again with my other family, and everybody included, cousins, uncles, everybody who lives down there. They all came, and we looked at it together for a couple of days. And a month later, I signed the lease, and I left corporate life, and I haven't looked back since. It's been 3.5 years. So it's been a pretty cool journey. A lot of people said I was nuts to do it, because I had a pretty good gig. And I do miss those days, 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, access to the jet, whatever, all that fun stuff. But I'm very content where I'm at, and no regrets. I'm having fun. I work every day.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, for me, this is the most organic and pure journey that I've been on. I used to work for Comcast, NBC Universal. Much like yourself, I try to keep it on the down low that this is what I had started doing. And I was planning on leaving eventually anyways. It eventually came out, "Oh, so you're running a podcast?" Well, we're a cable company and don't really like that. So it was like, well, I'm sorry, I'm not quitting. I chose to quit them, and I was making bank. Like I was good, I ended up leaving, and I think my epiphany moment was when Sportscaster had sent me to Los Angeles to interview the NFL rookies, the rookie class recently. And that was my epiphany moment. I'm like, wow, like I'm in the same hotel room. Of course, rest in paradise. Whitney Houston, like passed away, and I'm the pop music awards were happening at the same time in the same hotel in the Beverly Hills Hilton that I'm staying at with all these NFL rookies, and right across while I'm sitting there eating dinner, it's like Miguel, and I just had this epiphany moment. I was like, this is what I want, and this is where I want to be, and it hit me right there to like, this is what I built with my own two hands, Awesome. Yeah, it's a beautiful path. I always like to encourage my audience, get out there, blaze your own. It's okay to work for somebody, but nothing will ever be really more fulfilling than, if you start something and you watch it grow.
Exactly. And you know what? It's not for everybody. You know, there's a lot of people out there that, you know what, they're very, very comfortable with security and doing their thing with that company and doing their side gig. And as long as they don't interact or, you know, but it does take a little bit of a special mindset to be able to do this. And you know that, I know that. But boy, it's exhilarating, you know, when you know you have a plan and you go all in and you go all after it. It's fun. And what do they say? If you do what you love, you never work again.
Never work again. Exactly. About how long have you been in business for yourself?
We opened in October of 2016. So basically, our first restaurant, our big restaurant, almost 3.5 years.
Yeah, I was about to say you're pretty much through that 5-year curve, that 5-year window.
In the restaurant world, you got to make it 1 year, buddy.
Yeah, I thought. Well, maybe of course this is probably definitely a common misconception now. I always thought it was like you know, you got to make it through like the first 5, and then after that it's pretty much you're set. You know, it's
in the restaurants, about 60% of restaurants that open fail within 1 year or 2 years.
Okay.
To have one over 3 years is a win. And so it's you know, and a lot of people doubted we would even make it to 1 year because of the location, because it's a small farm town, you know, 30 minutes, you know, east of St. Louis and 25 minutes from downtown St. Louis. But we've been blessed with the Scott Air Force Base only 15 minutes away. Yep. And it's really cool. You know, it's really cool walking in my restaurant at 11:30 in the morning and seeing, you know, 95 servicemen all in there eating barbecue, having fun. They pack the place every day. And it's almost like a military conference every day from 11:30 to 1 o'clock. And we love it. And we do a lot of catering, and we got a new food truck that we're doing out on the base, and so it's kind of fun too. So that's been a very big blessing for us. And my dad, the reason he lives there is because he's retired military, and I also went into the service when I went out of school, and so he did, his dad, my dad, and then me, and we all kind of followed suit, and so we're kind of a service oriented family, and so I did my tour and now I'm close to family and having fun.
Very nice. I was not expecting to add a veteran element to today's podcast. I'm an Air Force vet, security force.
Yep. Dad was Navy and I was Coast Guard.
Nice. See, hey, much respect. Thank you guys both for your service. Thank you.
Thank you.
The chat is asking, because I interviewed New England Patriots backup quarterback Jarrett Stidham. Are you related to Stidham? Okay,
here's the deal. I don't know. I will tell you that where he was born and raised was actually my dad is from the Sticks, Virginia, and in Big Stone Gap, Virginia, which is right there in the mountains, and it's right across from Ohio and that whole area. Where Jarrett Stidham was actually born and raised is right there where all the Stidhams from my father were from. But then he moved to Texas and so on and so on. But we actually did a search, and he's from that area. I don't know, but I do know that it's a unique name from that area in southwest Virginia. And in that whole region there, at a couple 100 miles. And so there's a possibility. I'm rooting for the guy anyway, because every time I see his name, it's like, because it's a little bit of a unique name. So every time I do see him, I kind of pull for him, even though I just got sniped in my dynasty draft. I was going to draft him, but he just went before my pick.
Well, that's a name that you definitely want to go and grab in dynasty drafts. With us not knowing what's going to happen with Brady, I say that's a safe bet. Expansion is a key. It's just a key piece to growth and development. I quickly realized I could not accomplish this dream by myself. I had to expand and I had to go and get a team. Now we have writers. We're getting an app developed, all this other stuff, right?
Right.
At what point did you know that you needed to expand to now 3 locations, and it sounds like a 4th mobile location with the food truck.
The food truck is definitely in play, but in all transparency, I'm gonna give your listeners a little bit of a scoop here. Of course, I grew up in the corporate world. In the corporate world, when you're in the boardroom, if you're not growing, you're dying. The old saying. And so I felt like we needed to grow because we had a lot of our customer base coming out from the Marion area in Illinois when they would have to go to St. Louis and Mount Vernon, Marion, all of those areas over there in eastern Illinois. And so we decided to open up a small place so they wouldn't have to drive as far to see us. And so we took over a Papa John's. And I'll actually send you some pictures of this. We actually converted that into a Fine Swine BBQ and pizza. They left the pizza oven, so I'm making barbecue pizzas as well. But we opened that up in August of 2017, and it's been open for a year and a half. And then we opened up Carlisle, which is 5 minutes from my house, which is a Governor's Run Golf and Country Club. It's a country club restaurant. We did some catering out there, and they said, "We love your food." And I said, "Well, if you want, I can bring some out and you can sell it on the weekends." They said, "We got a better idea. Why don't you take over the whole restaurant, bar, and conference center?" And I was nervous and skeptical about it because it's out. You have to know where it is. It's not on the main drag. It's in a small little town, tourist town, because there's a big lake right there. It's the biggest lake in Illinois. Natural lake. I mean, a man-made lake. And so we did it for a 1-year deal. And we just made a decision a week ago to cancel that deal. And so we did our 1 year, and I'm going to close that restaurant. It did not produce the numbers that I was hoping it would produce. And you got to do those things. And you got to make hard decisions sometimes. And I decided to not to try to endure that off season and in that unknown commodity. And so I went, so we're about to be 2 restaurants and a food truck. Because one of the things that it hurt me on is it took away from my time. I was now spending my time going from one to another, to another, to another, to another. And in the restaurant business, people love to meet the owner. They love to talk to me. And it's almost like being in politics. I got to shake hands, kiss babies, walk the floor, and do all those things. And they want to know, what kind of wood are you using? And, and because we use 3 different woods. We don't just throw the same old kind of wood in our smokers. We use different woods because they have different flavors. And so we do all those things, and they want to know about that stuff. And when I'm not there, it doesn't have the same impact as when I am. And so now I can spend all my time at the other 2, really, really, nourish those things. And so you just got the scoop. Nobody else knew I was going to do that. You got the scoop. So
hey, no worries. I'm glad that we got it and we broke it here first. I want to kind of touch on something that you just said before we get into our next question. The ability to, I always say in business, you have to be willing to go out there, try different things, and don't be afraid to lose. Right. No such thing as losses. That doesn't go on an L on your record. It counts as a lesson.
Absolutely. Just go ahead.
And I want to encourage people, like whenever you are trying something and you're trying to just start up your own new thing, don't be afraid to lose. When I started the Rumboyz Fantasy Network, I was definitely going in with like, this could fail. Like this could fail, and I'm back in corporate America again.
Right.
Just go out there and jump into the water.
Absolutely. You're so right. You're on point on that. And what makes that, I mean, let me put it in perspective. I really jumped into Twitter this year. It's the first time I've been playing fantasy sports forever, but I never frayed into Twitter, especially fantasy Twitter and DFS, especially DFS. And I've heard so many of these touts and experts say, look, if you're playing scared, you're going to lose every time. You can't play with scared money, and you can't go into business for yourself if you're scared. The most successful people in the world were risk takers, and they put it all out on the line, and that's why high risk, high reward, and you cannot be afraid. and you have to go out there. Scared money loses every single time. And so we boldly go for it. And, but we make sure that we don't, we don't cripple ourselves. And at the same time, we have to make smart decisions, smart financial decisions. And so that's kind of the approach that we take. And we have to make those decisions on not just expansion, but just rolling out new programs in our restaurants, or what kind of new smokers or new equipment we're buying. We have to make sure that we're doing all the things that we have to do to be successful and to keep growing. That saying I said, if you're not growing, you're dying, is true. You have to grow. If you're not growing, you're dying. And we use that in all of our manager meetings, and everything that we do is, how are we going to grow this week? How are we going to grow next week? How are we going to grow next year?
I love that. I love that. And that's actually a great way to segue into the next question. You were kind of touching on, we, and you were utilizing the word we a lot. I do that often as well, despite it. I may be the face of the company. It's my writers, it's my marketing team, my graphic designer. They're the ones that are the backbone. I understand that you also compete in barbecue competitions. The everyday market, that's competitive as is. What made you kind of hunger for more competition? I mean, running a business is competition already.
Well, first, on the first point you made about I learned that a long, long time ago, that no matter what you do, you give credit to your team, and your team is what makes you. If you're ever the smartest person in the room, you failed, and you have to surround yourself with great people, and you have to give them all the credit. I learned that a long time ago. Even though I am the owner and I am the guy, I never say I, me. It's always we, and I will always be that way. And so in here I'm saying I will always be that way, but you know what I mean. You get where I'm going. Anyway, that's vital. What was the second part of that? I'm sorry.
So what made you want to get into
competition,
barbecue competitions? Yeah.
Well, actually, as I alluded, competition barbecue is where I started. It was a hobby, and I was in love with it, and it was a big deal for me. And going out and here's perspective for you. Everybody has a hobby that they love to do, correct? Some people love to go out and play golf. Some people play tennis. Some people, whatever it is. Some people are artists. They all have, some like to sing, whatever. They all have things. My hobby that I love to do was barbecue. I grew up from Memphis, Tennessee, Nashville, Tennessee. I also lived in Florida. I lived everywhere because I was military, but I call Nashville, Tennessee home. But, my hobby is barbecue, professional barbecue. And it's very rare that you can have a hobby that you can actually compete in professionally and actually be at the very top. Like, I got friends that love to golf, but they're never going to be on the PGA Tour. Yeah. I have great friends that love to make music, but they're not winning Grammys. I'm literally in a position where I've been on the biggest stages in the world. Memphis in May, we've stood on stage with a trophy as big as I am. Fourth place pork shoulder in Memphis. That's a big deal. The Jack Daniels World Championship. I was, you have to be invited. You have to win a state sanctioned grand championship to get invited to that contest. And I've been there and was on stage 3 times there. The American Royal in Kansas City, being on stage every time I've been there, I've been on stage. And so, there's something to being able to compete at the highest level of your favorite thing that you like to do. And so, that's kind of a cool thing. And so it's always in my blood. As a matter of fact, I've got barbecue sauce in my veins. And of course I have sauces that I sell around the country and other countries. And I was doing that way before I was doing competition barbecue and selling sauces way before we even thought about having a restaurant. I never dreamed of having a restaurant. It all just kind of happened. I like to say it's a God thing. And so, that's it just kind of all worked out. But I don't compete as much as I used to. The last competition I did was last year, where it was actually the Invitational, the Kansas City Barbecue Society World Championship Invitational, where we took 2nd place in the world in brisket, and we also took a top 20 overall for all 4 categories. And so it was fun.
Now let me just I want to touch on that really quick, guys. Brisket is it's difficult to prepare because you have to smoke and all. It's a very long process. To take second, and you said in Kansas City?
Yeah, the Kansas City Barbecue Society World Championship. Yeah, the KCBS World Championship, second place. I've taken a lot of first place brisket calls, and it's brisket's fun.
And you also mentioned, and I heard the city Memphis as well, right?
Memphis is huge.
I gotta say, this is already just turning out to be such a great interview. You know, I've already learned so much about you, and we're only 3 questions in. To be able to compete, yeah, jack of all trades here, guys. David, make sure you guys follow him on Twitter. Hammerjacks, right?
Hammerjacks 1, yeah.
Hammerjacks 1, that's right. But to compete in Kansas, Memphis, I mean, these are places. Anyone that ever took 2 seconds to click on Food Network knows that that's barbecue capital. That's barbecue country. Mm-hmm. And you said that the family kind of comes from that Virginia area, correct?
Right.
That's beautiful. I'm from Northern Virginia. Absolutely beautiful. I always say the 6 degrees of separation is it's a beautiful thing. You never know who you're going to meet, especially in the social media arena that we live in today. Wow, that's amazing. So with all that you've accomplished, leadership, it has to be the key in pursuit to your goals. How do you motivate your employees and your team to help? Because it's you that's birthing the dreams. They're there to help you execute it. What tactics are you utilizing to keep the momentum going?
Man, that's your questions are very intuitive. You're right on point. It's hard because, as you know, the restaurant industry, it's a high turnover industry, and when it comes to employees, and it's hard to, get people that are all in. You have to get them to believe in your system, because honestly, you just it's not like corporate world where you can pay them, $65,000-$75,000. You're dealing with a lot of minimum wage employees and a little bit above. And now I will say this: we pay more than most. I believe in the power of pay. You get what you pay for, and we pay more than most. And it hurts our labor line, but ultimately it helps my loyalty line. And by doing those things, we have a lot high. I still have people with me, and this will blow your mind. I still have people that work for me in my original restaurant, 3.5 years, that have been there since day one. And that's almost impossible in the restaurant industry. And that's because I take care of them. I've pulled money out of my own pocket and hand it to them when I see they're in need. I don't ask for it back. Some of them give it back, some of them don't, and it's okay. I treat them like family, and treating them like family, communicating with them, and giving them accountability. Even my young people, my teenagers, my high schoolers and college students, I give them autonomy. The first thing I tell them is, I said, you have the power to make someone happy. You do not have to get a manager approval. You do not have to go see me. If something happens in that restaurant and you see an opportunity to make something right, you have the power to do it. If you tell me that you were doing it because you were trying to make someone happy or you were trying to take care of a situation, you're all in with me. You win. And so giving them autonomy, giving them the power, giving them the ability to be proud of what they do, even at a young age, has gone very far for me. It's helped me. And let them wear jeans with holes in them. I don't care. We're barbecue. Let's quit being stuffy in America. Let's just, where it don't matter. Just have fun. Just wear my shirt. And what's cool, and here's what's cool, is when they want to wear your shirt, when they go out and they're hanging out with their friends and they put it on social media, that tells you something, because most people don't want anything to do with their work when they're on their own. And so we have young people that are proud of working for me, and that means more to me than anything. And so I try my best. Now, but I also, on the other hand, I'm gonna tell you this: some of them get angry because I hold them to high standards. We have to be better than everybody. If someone's going to drive out to where we are from St. Louis or from St. Charles or from Fenton or wherever, they got to have an experience. It's not just about the food. The food's going to be amazing. We go crazy to make sure the food's good, but they got to have a good experience. And these guys got to be on top of it. If they're not, they're not going to be there. And because we cannot survive with mediocrity. And so we have to be better than everybody else. And I teach them that. And they appreciate that. And they feel like I care, and that means everything. So anyway, I know I'm a long talker, but I really wanted to drive that message home.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a message that needs to be driven home. Looking in the chat here on our live YouTube, those of you that'll be listening to this episode on Spotify, Apple, and Google, you could definitely subscribe to us on YouTube and check out the action over there. But everyone, I'm witnessing a lot of other business owners, or even some of my own team in the chat. And here at the Rumboyz Fantasy Network, everyone is family. I don't believe, that do I have employees, but more importantly, I have brothers and sisters.
Yes.
And we work as a whole to make this a reality. When I told the team, hey guys, I'm leaving corporate America and I'm gonna be full time, they're like, okay, we're gonna take on themselves. Okay, so I'm gonna handle graphics, I'm gonna write articles, I'm gonna go ahead and get website developed. You just go out there, book guests, get marketing done, and they rose to the occasion, and that's what I feel like that's how a good company should be ran. You want all the cogs to mesh well. Has turnover happened? Absolutely. Do I have some of the same people that were with me from day one? No. I have about three people that are still with the staff from day one. We have about 11 to 12 of us, and it's beautiful that those people have stayed. That means I'm doing something right. And and clearly I'm leading them in the right direction. So I love everything that you had just mentioned there about that. Ready to get into some fantasy football, some fantasy sports talk though?
Let's do it, man. That's how we met.
Exactly. Which, by the way, guys, the way that this interview came together, we're just chilling on social media. I don't even remember what the tweet was, and I
put a picture of a cheeseburger with an egg on it.
Yeah, it was food unites people, even on the internet. And I was like, then I found out that you play fantasy. You're an entrepreneur like myself, and now I'm finding out so much more. I had to bring you on the show, David. So once again, I do thank you. Let's see here.
I'm OG fantasy.
Yes, and we are literally about to talk about that. I'm excited for especially the younger generation to hear this part. So of course, we're a sports channel. We gotta talk about sports. A little birdie had let me know that you were once the overall ESPN fantasy baseball champion. How the hell did you pull that off?
I'll never do it again. That was the hardest thing I've ever accomplished because, first of all, this happened back in '97, and I was working from home, and the only reason I was able to do what I was able to do was because I worked from home. And yes, I had a computer and I had dial-up modem to get online. But ESPN, they had fantasy sports back then, a lot of it, and that was when they were in their first growth mode. And before that, I would jump before we. In a minute, I'll talk about what I did before that. I was in old school rotisserie leagues where we actually scored by hand and all those kind of things. But I will tell you that the only way I was able to accomplish what I accomplished with baseball was being able to be on the computer, scouring the waiver wire, scouring the starting rosters and lineups and the reports of who's going to play, who's not going to play daily in the morning, the afternoon, the evenings. And I would watch these little game casts where you're waiting on them to say the next pitch and what it was, it was a strike, or a ball. And, we didn't have online video. And so, but being able to be on there every single day and working the transaction wire and doing all these things. And it came down to the last day of the season. I think I had Kevin Brown on the last day of the season, 10 strikeouts, or it was just like in a crazy good performance. And that's what put me over the next guy to win the overall title. And back then it wasn't a lot of money. It was like pride. And I got a really cool ESPN jacket, and they did an interview, and there was all kinds of fun stuff like that. But it burned me out, and I was totally wiped out. I mean, because literally there wasn't a day off. Baseball's every day. And I was grinding. I didn't play for 10 years after that. I just went strictly into football. I retired from, of course, I'm on the ESPN chat with all these guys, and they're all like wanting me to be in their league and want me to do this and want me to do this because I was the overall champion. And I had to turn them all down. And I said, guys, I don't have the energy. I'm done. And now I did play a couple of years ago just for fun because I just quit baseball. I got fed up with it. And I did win my league again, but it was nothing like what I had to do before. It was a lot of fun. It killed me though.
Oh yeah, no, baseball was grueling. When my old co-host Ty Boogie, he was like, "We're gonna do a fantasy baseball league." I was like, "Wow,
it's hard."
I already knew that it was a bad idea before heading into it, and then I noticed that I wasn't the only one that was checking their lineup every day. I was like, "Look, I'm happy that everyone in this case just pretty much sucks, to be honest." I think Ty, he did win it, and he was the only person that paid attention at least every other day.
You know what? Honestly, that's the secret. If you want to win baseball league, all you got to do is focus. If you do it every single day and you make sure you change your lineup every day based on your starters and the probability of your relievers, I mean, you have to watch, okay, this guy's come in on a 6, he's pitched 2 innings 5 straight days. There's a chance. I mean, there's a lot of things you're looking at. But if you're willing to do that, you're going to win because most people aren't willing to do it. And you're going to win. And so all you got to do is focus and you'll win.
I'm finding that same philosophy applicable to fantasy basketball currently.
I got to get into that. I'm still struggling with that one. I just don't have the time. I'm jumping into the golf world right now.
Yes, actually, I wanted to talk about that as well. How is, I know I work with Thrive Fantasy app. They sponsor the Rumboyz Fantasy Network, and they have PGA props up there. And I don't know golf really. How is fantasy golf?
It's I'm just getting into it, and so there is a guy out there. You don't mind if I plug him?
Go ahead.
Rick Rungood on Twitter. Rick Rungood, and I started following that guy, and he shares so much knowledge, and he has a podcast, and he has so much that he gives me, that it almost like it's cheat code, and so I've actually made profit the last 3 tournaments in a row, and I barely know what the heck I'm doing, but it's fun. But I will tell you this. It's crazy because in football we all play fantasy football. Yep. While Sunday comes, that's the day. I mean, obviously you got showdowns and stuff like that in DFS on Thursday night, but then when Sunday comes, you're playing the main slate, you're playing the Millie Maker, you're doing all these GPPs and cash lineups and so forth. And by the end of Sunday night, you're kind of done. And then you got the Monday night showdown, et cetera, et cetera. In golf, you got a whole day on Thursday. And then you're like, oh my God. And then you got all day Friday, and then you got all day Saturday, and then all day Sunday. And so you got a 4-day sweat. Now, obviously, you don't really have to take it seriously until you get to Sunday, but you also have to sweat Friday because you're trying to make 6 guys make the cut. And so there's a lot of variables in play, but I tell you, it's fun. And you don't have to be a long-time lifer in golf to understand what's going on. I'm not a long-time lifer in golf, but you follow the right people, you get the right information, just like in every other sport in DFS world, they're going to feed you that information. And then you just use your own intelligence and try to make sense of it. But it's a lot of fun, and I'm enjoying it right now.
I never thought that I'd ever say this in my life, but I think I'm probably gonna start watching a little bit of golf now. Money on golf.
Let Rick know that I sent you, and I'm telling you, that guy's amazing. He works harder than anybody I've ever seen in fantasy.
I will. I will. I'm definitely gonna. I'm gonna add them. Probably bring them on the show. I know that I've had people in the chat. You know, I've had fans ask me, you know, do you watch golf? Do you care about golf? And I'm like, unless it's tired or not, really. You know, but I'm definitely
cool.
excited about that. How has your luck been in fantasy football? I myself am coming off of 2 fantasy football Super Bowls. I understand you participate in everything from dynasty to DFS to IDP. You have any big wins yet? You know, how's fantasy football working out for you?
Well, fantasy football is my lifeblood, and that's where my passion is. And like I said, and if you don't mind, I'll go back a little bit. Back in the 90s. Back in the 90s, yeah. I'm an old guy, all right. Sorry, I'm a boomer. But I will tell you this. In the 90s, I was a young guy, in the 90s. Back then, USA Today. Hey guys, USA Today was a newspaper. It used to be a big thing. I don't even know if it existed.
Guys.
Huh? Does it still exist?
Yeah.
It does? The USA Today. Anyway, the back page of the sports section in the USA Today had basically a weekly fantasy. That was DFS before fantasy football. And the way it worked was it was a salary cap, and they would have all your quarterbacks, all your running backs, all your receivers listed on the back page, and you literally had to check the box of which ones you wanted based on like a $50,000 salary. And then you actually physically mailed that in, and you watched the games, and you waited for the results. And that was fantasy football. And of course, you know, fantasy baseball is what started it all. It was actually called rotisserie baseball. Mm-hmm. Football came along, and that's really what came out. And me and my buddy, we would literally do that, and every week, and then watch the games. And God help us if anybody interrupted us while we were watching the games, the wives with the babies and all that kind of stuff. No, we got you know, fantasy on the line here. You know, we got Aikman and Irvin going on here. Yeah. So back in the 90s, and that was really cool. From that, we went on to true fantasy football leagues where we would actually tally the scores ourselves every week. And then we jumped into the whole digital age with RT Sports and some of these other sites. That was really cool. But I'll tell you, MFL, which still runs today, my fantasy league. I was one of the original commissions for the MFL Masters leagues. And we still have the Masters League going right now, and it's been going on for many, many years. And it's a dynasty IDP league, you know, 55-man rosters, IDP, you know, taxi squad, the whole thing. I've done salary leagues, I've done everything, and right now I'm really big into dynasty leagues, and I do very few, you know, redrafts. I do very few of those. You know, it's pretty much dynasty leagues and a couple of redrafts with DFS. I'm mostly DFS and in dynasty leagues right now. As a matter of fact, we're drafting right now. The Super Bowl hadn't even been played, and we're drafting for next year.
Yeah, I was about to say, dynasty drafts are already kicking off. I've tried to convince my friends that I play in my home league. I play in one home league, and then you know, for the rest of my leagues, I usually compete about almost 10 leagues a year, and I'll do like 2 home leagues, and then the rest are all, you know, for pretty much media, for me to, you know, get my name out there, build buzz, all that kind of stuff. You know, so I'll play against, you know, a couple of different of the celebrity analysts and stuff, and I've been trying to convince my home league guys to turn our redraft league into a dynasty. I'm like, we are literally every single year the exact same people getting together. We might as well just make it a dynasty league. But
absolutely, and you draft rookies every year.
Exactly.
And you have a free agency, and there's a lot of things you can do.
But my commish.
Hey, you know what? But they like drafting that whole new squad.
Exactly.
And you know what? But you know what? Now that you're a big celebrity and you got Twitter and you got all those things, you can always find these celebrity leagues and do these redrafts and these dynasty leagues. It's a lot of fun.
We're working on it. I feel like I'm the fantasy football almost like anti-celebrity, I guess you could say, because I always head into these leagues and I'm direct to the point, like to them, letting them know I am going to defeat you. Like, like I'm not the person that's there to make friends or nothing. I am there to defeat people and embarrass them.
I'm in a league right now, and I got the 10th pick, and these knuckleheads let me get Chubb at 10, and I'm like, okay, if you guys want to do that, go ahead.
That actually answers my next question. Who is going to be your number one pick in the 2020 fantasy draft? And it sounds like Chubb came off the board at 10.
At 10, I mean, you can't, you got to do that. Mm-hmm. But I mean, yeah, you mentioned before we were talking, and this is interesting, and I've been thinking about this because I don't know the whole dynamic. But you're in this league with what 90-something teams? Smitty's putting on.
Yep, 96.
He's got like eight groupings of all the players. So is this? Let me make sure I understand this right. So is this going to be a draft where there's like 9 leagues within the league, or is there going to be 96 teams?
That's how I pictured it. I was like, so there's going to be. I think they're going to be satellite leagues, like so you'll have like League 1 and then League 2, and like everyone will be separated because there's no way that 96 people. 8 of them all have Christian McCaffrey.
Well, no. If there's 8 copies or 9 copies or whatever he's doing, I'm just thinking. So the first 9 teams are going to have Christian McCaffrey because who else are you going to take? I mean,
exactly. No, I'm going to go in. I'm heading into that one, and I'm playing that the same way that I play every other league. I am going to draft my team as normal as possible. I'm not even going to get tempted with the fact that I can get Christian McCaffrey, and pay attention to everyone else going to draft them. I'm just going in and I'm treating it the same way.
I'll get beat up for this by your listeners, or your viewers. I'm not sure McCaffrey's going to. I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen. They got a whole new coaching staff. They got a coordinator that likes to throw the deep ball. It wouldn't surprise me. I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen. They're going to beat me up. Don't throw the rocks, but it wouldn't surprise me if he loses 25% of his production.
I think it is definitely going to happen. I've been trying to explain to people, and I've even been providing evidence. Look at what happened with Saquon Barkley. More than likely, if you were on number one draft pick this year, you more than likely went out and got Saquon Barkley. You also more than likely probably did not make a fantasy championship with Saquon on the roster. And he was, of course, the coming out of the previous year. That's who we as analysts, we ranked ADP as the 101. And then we had McCaffrey, then we had Kamara. Guys, if you have some type of say-so or control over your league, in a league that I participate in, I have no say-so. It's a shot glass with a number written on the bottom. You take the shot, you look, and that's your draft pick. We let fate decide there. If you have some way to decide, try and not get the 101 overall. I am coming into 2020 preaching that very heavy this year. You do not need the 101. I have never, ever in almost 8 years of playing fantasy football won a league having the 101.
No, I agree with you. And I mean, I love C-Mac. I mean, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of question marks there. And that one, I actually like that 10 spot because I'm coming back with another great player. And as a matter of fact, and of course, a lot of people will boo me on this one because everybody's saying sell Aaron Jones, but I just don't agree with it. But I took Chubb and Aaron Jones 1-2, and I'm pretty happy with that. And I still got guys like Kupp and Chark and all those guys, but I'm pretty happy with being in that back half of the draft at this point because there's a lot of variables, a lot of unknowns.
This year, what I've been finding so far, I haven't fully released on my ADP. I can't stand when guys go out there and they super early, Super Bowl's not even done yet. They're like, this is what ADP is going to be. And it's like, so we're going to ignore the fact that CJ Lamb still has to get drafted. So I'm not big into that, but what I have done so far with my ADP rankings is this is what I'm letting people know. Go in the back end of your drafts. If you can go anywhere between picks 5 and below, that's going to be a sweet spot for you. That's where I'm projecting a lot of championship lineups to be. That's where you're going to be able to go and get, guys that you're on the hype train about, Derrick Henry, Chubb, Aaron Jones, Michael Thomas, DeAndre Hopkins. That's where those guys are falling to you in that first round, and that's where you're going to be able to build your team. I got a fantasy championship with Ryan Tannehill this year, back end. So
Hey, and I'm in a couple of those super flex leagues where you have the opportunity to play two quarterbacks, and now in some of my dynasty leagues, like my MFL Masters League, you have to start two quarterbacks. But in the super flex leagues last year, I'll be honest with you, everybody gobbled up the quarterbacks so fast. I just kept collecting running backs and receivers, and I ended up making it to the championship with, Ryan Tannehill and and now I got lucky on Tannehill, obviously, but Ryan Tannehill and Jameis Winston, and of course, the interception machine. But you know what? He's still a fantasy machine, and I was able to do that. And meanwhile, the guys with, Aaron Rodgers and insert name here, they're sucking wind because they're trying to trade for receivers and running backs that they didn't pick up while they were drafting quarterbacks early. And so, as a matter of fact, in this draft we're in right now, I didn't take this super flex draft I'm in right now. I didn't take a quarterback till the 8th round. And believe it or not, I got Aaron Rodgers in the 8th. And you know what? I'll take Aaron Rodgers in the 8th. And I took, what's his name? Minnesota.
Dalvin Cook.
No,
Kirk Cousins, the quarterback.
Cousins in the 10th round. And so I got an 8th and a 10th round quarterback, Rodgers and Cousins. But meanwhile, I loaded up on wide receivers. And I'm starting to question that league anyway because I got Zach Ertz in the 7th round. So that's stupid.
Exactly. Yeah, that should have never, ever, ever happened, period. It sounds like, and I hate to shamelessly plug myself right now. Everything that you just spoke are very fundamental philosophies that we teach here whenever we're doing fantasy football. To answer your question, Treat, yes, I will be running fantasy football summits later this year. Once after the draft and everything, get a quarterback later on. Load up on quarterback and receiver. Exactly. I try and tell people this, and they don't listen to me. And then when they're asked out on their money that they invested in, they put in the pot, they come back. Oh, you were right. Da, da, da. Well, listen to my show. That's why I legitimately run a show to help you.
It's math. It's math. There are 32 teams. You only play one. There's 12 teams in your league. And when you look at the differentials between first and 15 or 20, it's not a huge difference, and there's a lot of variance every week. And so, guys, you don't have to draft Mahomes in the first round. You don't have to do it. As a matter of fact, it's stupid. I'm just being honest. That's my opinion.
Don't buy into all these big celebrity analysts that'll go on TV. They'll say something outlandish, and now because you listen to them, you're out your money. I'm just saying.
Well, the reason I got Chubb at number 10 was because Mahomes and Jackson both went before me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
you got lucky, yeah. Let's see here. So, of course, it is Super Bowl Sunday. Everyone that is listening, make sure you guys tune into the Rumboyz Fantasy Network on Super Bowl Sunday for our pregame kickoff party. Who are you rooting for, and why? And it sounds like you're putting your feelers out there. Are you gonna be putting a little bit of cash on this one, David?
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna jump into the prop betting thing. I've been playing around with that for a long time, and I actually we talked offline, and I'm gonna jump into that Thrive, and jump into that, and I'm gonna do some prop betting. There's a few things I really like, some over unders, and I really like Damian Williams right now. But yeah, I'm gonna put a little bit of juice on that. And I am right now. Put a gun to my head. I'm taking the Chiefs. They're close to me. I've got a lot of roots in Kansas City. I'm pulling for them. I got a lot of friends and family that love the Chiefs, and so it's been 50 years, and I'd like to see them. I'd like to see them win. And you know what? I think they got what it takes, and I think their defense is playing way better than they get credit for. And so I'm pulling for the Chiefs. I think they're going to win the game.
What I think, Of course, I won't be dropping my prediction. I'll let you know what I'm gonna say. When we get offline, I'll let you know. But I gotta say it for them on Sunday, with the Chiefs and for your pick to give a little bit more confidence behind that. Step one, Patrick Mahomes, every single game that he has ever lost has been within one score. Okay, little stat for you guys. So all throughout this season, anytime the Chiefs lost, it's been by one touchdown. 2, let's look at their what they've done in the playoffs. Now, they may have started slow throughout that first quarter. Well, it's Andy Reid, and it's the playoffs. So that's to be expected.
Right.
But the system is built, and when you have receivers and running backs start running, everyone's running 4-2s, 4-3s out there, then, okay, now you need to account for the fact that playing time possession ball, which is what the 49ers does, could possibly very may well not work. Also, the Chiefs are one of the very few teams. I'm a big film guy. My audience knows this. I'm a film over stats guy, but I do pay attention to stats. The Chiefs are one of the very few offenses that can counteract a cover 3 because of the speed that they have. Right. Because Mahomes is getting the ball out from snap to about from about 2.5 to 3 seconds, which is awesome. That's phenomenal. Because of that, I want to let you know that you should have confidence in your pick.
That's as a matter of fact, I just raised my confidence. I might put a little more action on it. But I will tell you that I truly believe that the Chiefs are going to be able to make Garoppolo beat them, and I don't know if he can do it. I just don't know, and I believe they have too many weapons, and I believe that they're, now if you asked me this 3 weeks ago when Houston was beating them 24-0 at Kansas City, and I'm sitting there going, what the heck is going on here? And then you watch that onslaught. They have the capability to do that against anybody, anytime. And they've had 2 weeks to prepare, and Andy Reid with 2 weeks to prepare. It's just they're going to win this game.
Absolutely. I'm excited for it. Not releasing who I'm gonna pick. It's gonna be.
I know. Okay. I hear you. Of course, y'all. I don't know what the line is doing right now, but
got it. I think that it's at 1 right now. I think it's still. I don't think the ESPN moved it. I don't think the Westgate moved it.
How cool is that you got a Super Bowl with a line of 1? That's
1.
I love it.
They're both just so good. They're both just so good. Other than that, David, it has definitely been a pleasure interviewing you. I know that you are a very, very busy man, and I thank you for coming by the show. You want to go ahead and let the people know where they can follow you? By the way, I saw your Instagram page for the restaurant.
Right.
Stunning.
Yeah, it's all food. It's all about the food.
But yeah, where can people find you? Twitter, Instagram, all that good stuff. And
Twitter. It's all about the food and the football, and that's all I do on Twitter is Hammerjacks, HAMMERJACKS 1, and I show food. I talk about what we're cooking on Sunday and those kind of fun things. And if anybody ever wants to hit me up, I can hit them some recipes. They want to surprise somebody for a Super Bowl recipe or whatever. I can throw them some quick ideas. Facebook, obviously, A Fine Swine BBQ, in Instagram, Fine Swine BBQ. And hey guys, follow me. We'll have fun. We'll talk football. We'll talk sports. We'll talk barbecue. Whatever you want, we'll help you out. Thanks.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I do thank you guys for joining us for today's podcast. I got an award ceremony to go to for my son.
Nice.
Make sure you guys follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Rumboyz, spelled with a Z-N-E-T. Check us out on rumboyz.com. Feel free to swing by our merch shop, grab something for you and the one you love with Valentine's Day right around the corner. And make sure you guys also check out David on Twitter at Hammerjacks1. And Instagram, A Fine Swine BBQ. Other than that, cheers to me, cheers to you, all the Rumboyz and girls what to do. Dilly, we're out of here. Thank you, guys.